You don't use a single penny of your household income for any expenses, right? You use something called passive income. Let's come down to today. What do you account for as a monthly expenditure?
It would be somewhere between a lakh and 1,50,000.
And 100% being covered by passive income.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
My previous bosses told me that if you can order food, liquor in a hotel or something without looking at the menu card and the price, then you have arrived. Like, you are in the good life zone. So I'm in that zone now.
So, sir, you mentioned about your Dubai trip being completely funded by a passive income, right? How much was that trip, which the passive income covered? What do you understand with the term passive income? What is passive income?
Getting away from using your salary for your living expenses. The idea was that I never wanted to work my entire life for money, and the thought was always in my mind, and I drew elaborate excels from beginning. So as my expenses were projected to increase, I thought that I'll have to really do a lot of work to increase my income levels. So that is where I thought, look, how do I go about it? So what I did was I said, okay, in today's context, if you, for example, if I put a fixed deposit of 50,000 rupees, then I would probably get a 200 or 300 rupee kind of cash flow from it, approximately a month. So that can easily fund your, say, a Netflix or a YouTube subscription. Maybe a very small example. That is somewhere you got to start.
Right.
So that is where this started. Like, you start putting some sort of money into certain pockets. I heard $1 million term on some of your channels, which is like 8 crore rupees approximately, which will give you FD mein dala 4 lakh rupees a month, which is safe for most people today. Expense of 2.5 lakh maybe. 1.5 you can further reinvest to take care of other situations or just grow your corpus. So for example, someone may have made 10 crore rupees, but they have a very nice villa and they love living in it, which is about 6 crores, maybe a jazzy car, which is 50 lakh. But then you might be worth 10 crore rupees, but your liquidity is just 2 or 3 crores, which will not give you enough cash flow to call it enough passive income to sustain. So you'll have to continue working.
Now the question comes to, what is this expenditure? What is that number which you're basically not taking out of your income, and it's all being covered through passive income?
Hyderabad typical fees would be 4 lakh, 5 lakh rupees a year for one kid. If you have two kids, about you have to budget about 7, 8 lakh to 10 lakh rupees. And that is a major source of expense for most parents today. So if that is coming from active income, that will take away at least on an average, if you have two kids, about 70, 80,000 a month kind of expense that gets out. So that is one category taken care for me. The home loan is being paid by the passive income.
Understood.
So that also is not being paid by the salary. I've taken enough insurance for me, like health insurance, life insurance. If I something happens to me, God forbid, I have a 6 crore insurance, so which is good enough to cover my family's expenses till they stabilize. Right. And I've taken a good health cover, so I don't have to worry about that. So most of us, if we leave out the heads I'm talking about, can easily live in about a lakh, 1.5 lakh. Easily in a metro city also, if you're living in your own house, not paying for rental. So we just had a like international vacation after a while. We just went to Dubai recently. All that is funded by passive cash flow or my second income, not the active income. So that does not eat up my salary. What that does is it gives me an immense power. Me and my spouse salary, I can invest into riskier instruments.
So, sir, you mentioned about your Dubai trip being completely funded by a passive income, right? How much was that trip, which the passive income covered?
That was probably about 6 lakh approximately in expense, six, maybe a little, slightly more. Right. Silly thing I have in my mind that luxury I don't want to fund from my salary. I want my salary to work for me in the background and give me money which I'll spend on luxury. Right. I don't want to fund those luxuries by working 10 hours, 12 hours, 8 hours into 20 days, 22 days. I don't want to do that. I want to get out of that loop. So that is where this Dubai trip happened, and I've already started working on next year's trip. So I'm lining up investments now this next year. Yeah. So and just what is the budget gonna be, and let me put some money where the timing is kind of right to fund that.
Let's just talk about your life's journey. What's been your background?
Mid 90s. So around that time, I was doing a bachelor's from Hansraj College in Delhi, and I said, okay, let's do something about life. Started with a manufacturing organization with my dad, and we started manufacturing some material for meter parts and all precision instruments. So there was a point where we had to invest about 70, 80 lakh to buy certain machinery, and we couldn't do that. Couldn't afford that. So unfortunately, had to take a hard decision, close the manufacturing startup, went into a lot of fintechs. I worked with Morgan Stanley for a while via Headstrong as a consultant. And then I spent most of my life in BFSI and startups. So that gave me this unfair advantage where I got the hang of this cash flows thing, how money works.
It seems to me, at least from listening to you, that it'll take some time to build this passive income. So, is it something which is going to take time, or is there a way to shorten that process, or is it's a journey which you have to take?
It's not something that I would say I've achieved anything out of an year or 2 year or last 3 years were good for me. This is a disciplined approach over maybe 1.5 decades, which has led to this. If you started from zero, no ancestral money, first crore is the most difficult. Most people take 10, 15, 20 years to reach the first crore in terms of saving, like your investment portfolio of 1 CR. After that, the second crore would be probably 50% of that time, and then it gets easier. Once you reach 4, 5 CR, it is now up to you. You would have, I'm sure you would have heard of people who say, I have 5 CR, I'll double it in to 10 CR in 3 years, 20 CR in 6 years, and so on. They're very sure about it because they have understood the way money works, the way compounding works.
What are your modes of passive income? Like, what do you invest in that generates this passive income?
So first I'll tell you like what are my favorite instruments, what I use, and there could be more. Uh, One is the abused word FD. And these instruments change from time. Like for example, the interest rate cycle is high right now. Bond yields are high, FD rates are high. So I would have a bit of more of my kind of money into bonds and all. If the interest rate cycle changes, like it was about what 3.5-4% few years back. So I would not put money in FDs at that time. I would want to create FDs right now, which would probably give a sustained return for some time. 4 months back, most of my money was on the equity side. But then with the markets kind of changing and the uncertainty I see in the turbulence I see ahead, this is my theory. I moved a lot of that into liquid cash and bonds in the last about 4-5 months. A lot of my bonds are with Vint Wealth. The idea is that it gives me around 9.5 to 10% kind of yield. It will give me approximately inflation adjusted thing. Inflation, by the way, is a kind of misunderstood term. Inflation, when people say it is 7-8%, that is on consumption. That is not on income. That's something which people don't understand. So if someone is earning 4 lakh and spending 1 lakh, then that 7% is hitting that 1 lakh, not that 3 lakh.
Right.
So inflation hits consumption. My favorite also is dividend yield stocks, a lot of them. Like there's a lot of Navratna and Mahanavratna companies who dividend yield, if you bought them at the right time, maybe a year back, would have been around 10%, 12% easily.
Right.
So it is taxable at your tax rate, but still it gives you a decent cash flow. I invest in pre-IPOs. So pre-IPOs also give dividends, which a lot of people don't know. So like National Stock Exchange is in pre-IPO stage right now, and that gives a decent dividend. So today some of my portfolio would be in say gold bonds. My elder daughter has her own corpus. That's again something which most people don't do. I'll give you a very important input here. When your kid turns 18, she can have her own portfolio and her tax ID.
Absolutely.
Why would anyone keep the money meant for that kid in your account and pay 33% tax on that? So her money for education is in our account. She sees money getting debited from her account, credit to her account. She sees dividends coming into her account. She sees the value of passive income. So that part, her education part plus funding part is taken care with her portfolio at zero tax. She's not in that bracket. So that's again a good saving for me as an individual.
So now let's talk about a little bit about your real estate as well. You've talked about how you are not, really counting real estate as something which is going to give you a lot of passive income.
Doubling your money in about 7-8 years, any index fund will also do it.
Right.
In real estate, if someone bought it, I bought say a flat in Pune. I was stuck with it for 8 years. I bought an aspirational good size flat. At that time, it was 2 CRs. So I bought it when I was in Pune and I never got to live in it. I moved to Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, I bought my own apartment and then I was paying 2 EMIs. So the Pune one and this one. And I was literally screwed for some time. Like, what would you do? I was expecting the Pune one to sell, but the builder was going through a tough time. Real estate, entire thing went through a bad time for about 5-6 years, maybe.
Yeah.
And like Pune, I talked about, I probably sold that property just at the price I bought it after I account for indexations and inflation and the principal, the interest I paid to the bank. So I probably just broke even after blocking my money for 7-8 years. And while all that was happening, I was paying the EMI, I was blocking my cash flow. I could not invest in the market. Those were the good years of the bull run. Like India had that.
True.
I could not. No regrets. But this is what investment into real estate after leveraging does to you, to your cash flow.
I mean, to someone like me, a 30-year-old, today, if you have to give advice in terms of how to build a solid financial future, what would sort of that advice be?
My favorite thing is if someone comes to me and say, Manish, yaar, you have a lot of knowledge, help me get started. I say, buy Rich Dad Poor Dad. No one has come back. Most people would not even read a book. They would slog for a very high end company for 20 years, working 200 hours a month or maybe more. They would do that. They'll get fat bonuses, but they'll not invest into themselves by reading a single book. Don't be in a rush. Like, don't think that I have lost certain years. If you're starting in, say, 30 or mid 30s, a lot of people have this panic of catching up,
Right.
especially with the peer pressure. Don't get into that loop. That is the first thing. Making money is easy and boring. The problem comes when you want to make quick money. That is not going to happen. No one has done that. Even Rakesh Jhunjhunwala could not do that. Like in his bull days, whatever we see on television, if that happened, then maybe he made a good money in a quick time. But again, no one even in that part, the biggest bulls, they have made money consistently over years, not in 1 year, 2 year kind.
Right.
Like it's not something like you can achieve the goal suddenly at 35. Uh, like I mentioned, that you have to understand your philosophy about money first. Money is the transactional thing. You do transactions with that. What are you gonna do with your wealth? But don't take 80% of it to your grave. Don't plan to take that. Spend the money. Earn what you need and start enjoying. Like if my daughter has an idea, if I am able to take it forward, even if it fails, it's okay. If she wants to try, I'll give her the backing. I could not take my startup forward because we could not afford 85 lakh rupees for
Right.
machinery at that time. I don't want that to happen this time. If my daughters or my wife, for that matter, they have an idea, they want to try it out, please do.